Hi everyone, I am Ng, the author of gmail.com. Today, I will show you a comprehensive step-by-step Angular 9 tutorial on learning to build a CRUD, create, read, update, delete Angular app quickly. We will create an Angular app of coronavirus cases that we use REST API that gets the required data, post the case data, put case changes, delete case data, and get statistic data that displayed as a bar chart. So we learn how to use HTTPClient to access REST API using Angular form with Angular material, using routing and navigation, and display bar charts using Ng2Charts and Chart.js. This tutorial divided into several steps. Step number 1. Create a new Angular 9 app. Step number 2. Add the Angular 9 routing and navigation. Step number 3. Add the Angular 9 service. Step number 4. Display list of data using Angular material. Step number 5. Show and delete data details using Angular material. Step number 6. Show statistics using Ng2Charts and Chart.js. Step number 7. Add the data using Angular material form. Step number 8. Edit the data using Angular material form. Step number 9. Run and test the Angular 9 coronavirus cases app. The following tools, frameworks, and modules are required for this tutorial. Node.js recommended version. Angular 9. Coronavirus REST API. Terminal on Mac or Linux, or Node command line on Windows. IDE or text editor. We are using Visual Studio Code. We already provided the REST API for the coronavirus cases. You just clone, install npm, run MongoDB server, and run the Express or MongoDB REST API server. We assume that you have installed Node.js. Now we need to check the Node.js and npm versions. Open the terminal or Node command line, then type these commands. Step number 1. Create a new Angular 9 app. We will create a new Angular 9 app using Angular CLI. For that, we need to install or update the Angular CLI first to the latest version. Next, create a new Angular 9 app by running this command. If you get the question like below, choose yes. If you get the questions like this, choose yes, and SGSS or whatever you like to choose. Next, go to the newly created Angular 9 projects folder. Open this Angular project with your IDE or text editor. To use Visual Studio Code, type this command. Type these commands to run the Angular 9 app for the first time. Using --open parameter will automatically open this Angular 9 app in the default browser. Now, the Angular initial app looks like this. Step number 2. Add the Angular 9 routing and navigation. As you see in the first steps of creating an Angular 9 app, we already add the Angular routing for this Angular 9 app. Next, we just add the required Angular components for this coronavirus cases app. Just type these commands to generate them. Those components will automatically be registered to the app module.ts. Next, open and edit src app routing modules.ts. Then add these imports. Add these arrays to the existing routes constant that contain route for above edit components. Open and edit src app components HTML, and you will see the existing router outlet. Then replace this HTML page to fit the CRUD pages. Open and edit src app components as CSS. Then replace all SASS codes with this. Step number 3. Add the Angular 9 service. All access, post, get, put, delete to the REST API will put in the Angular 9 service. The response from the REST API emitted to the observable that can subscribe and read from the components. Before creating a service for REST API access, first we have to install or register HTTPClient module. Open and edit src app module.ts. Then add these imports of forms modules, reactive forms modules from Angular forms, and HTTPClient modules from Angular commands HTTP. Add it to Ng module imports after browser module. We will use the type specifier to get the type results object. For that, create a new TypeScript file on src app with the name cases.ts. Then add these lines of TypeScript codes. And create a new TypeScript file src app with the name Statistic.ts. Then add these lines of TypeScript codes. Next, generate an Angular 9 service by typing this command. Next, open and edit src app API service ts. Then add these imports. Add these constants before the inject table. Inject the HTTP client module to the constructor. Add the error handler functions that returns as an observable. Add the functions of all CRUD, create, read, update, delete, REST API call of cases and statistic data. You can find more examples about Angular 9, Observable, and X.js on our site. Step number 4. Display list of data using Angular material. We will display the list of data using Angular material table. The data published from the API service read by subscribing as a cases model in the Angular 9 components. For that, open and edit is rc app cases component.js. Then add this import of the previously created API service. Next, inject the API service to the constructor. Next, for the user interface or UI, we will use Angular Material and CDK. Install a CLI for generating a material components like table as a components, but we will create or add the table components from scratch to the existing component. Tap this command to install Angular Material. If there are questions like this, just use the default and yes as the answer. We will register all required Angular material components or modules to this rc app module.ts. On that file, add these imports of the required Angular material components. Register that modules to ng module imports. Next, back to this rc app cases component.ts. Then add this import. Declare the variables of the Angular material table data source before the constructor. Modify the ng-on-init functions to get the list of cases immediately. Next, open and edit is rc app cases component HTML. Then replace all HTML tags with these Angular material tags. Finally, to make a little UI adjustment, open and edit is rc app cases component as CSS. Then add these CSS codes. Step number 5. Show and delete data details using Angular material. On the list page, there are two buttons to navigate to the details and statistic page. For details page, the button actions also sends an ID parameter. Next, open and edit is rc app cases details components.ts. Then add these lines of imports. Inject the above modules to the constructor. Declare the variables before the constructor for all cases data that gets from the API. Add the functions to getting cases data from the API. Call that functions when the component is initiated. Add these functions to delete a case. For the view, open and edit is RC app cases details components HTML. Then replace all HTML tags with this. Finally, open and edit is RC app cases details components SCSS. Then add these lines of SCSS codes. Step number 6. Show statistic using Ng2Charts and Chart.js. We will use a bar chart to display the statistic of coronavirus cases. So we need to install Ng2Charts and Chart.js modules by type this command. Next, open and edit is RC app module ts, then add this import of Ng2Charts. Add this module to the Ng module imports. Next, open and edit is RC app cases state component ts. Then add these imports of chart.js, chart options, chart type, chart datasets, Ng2Charts label, API service, and statistic data type. Declare its required variables before the constructor for building a bar chart. Inject API service to the constructor. Add the functions to load statistic data from REST API, then implements it as a bar chart. Call that functions to the ng-oninit function. Next, open and edit is RC app cases states components HTML. Then replace all HTML tags with this implementation of an Ng2Charts Chart.js bar chart with statistic data. Sorry, we forgot to add the change status functions to the cases states component ts. Finally, give it a little style by modify its RC app cases set component SCSS with this. Step number 7. Add the data using Angular material form. To create a form for adding a coronavirus case, open and edit is RC app add cases component ts, then add these imports. Inject above modules to the constructor. Declare variables for the form group and all of the required fields inside the form before the constructor. Add initial validation for each field. Create the functions for submitting or post-product form. Create a new class before the main class. Add components. Next, open and edit src app, add cases components HTML. Then replace all HTML tags with this. Finally, open and edit src app, add cases components CSS. Then add this as CSS codes. Step number 8. Edit the data using Angular Material Form. We already put an edit button inside the cases details components for the call edit page. Now open and edit src app, edit cases component.ts. Then add these imports. Inject the above modules to the constructor. Declare the form group variable and all the required variables from the chassis form before the constructor. Next, add validation for all fields when the component is initiated. Create the functions for getting cases data that field to each form field. Create the functions to update the cases changes. Add functions for handling the Show Cases Details button. Create a new class before the main class components. Next, open and edit src app, edit cases components, HTML, then replace all HTML tags with this. Finally, open and edit src app, edit cases components as CSS, then add these lines of as CSS codes. Step number 9. Run and test the Angular 9 coronavirus cases app. Let's see the new performance of the Angular 9 with the i5 CRUD app. Now we have to build the Angular 9 app using this command. Now we have ES5 and ES2015 build of the Angular 9 app build for production. Next, we have to test the whole application. First, we have to run MongoDB server and Node Express API in a different terminal. Then run the Angular 9 app build. Simply type this command. Now you will see this coronavirus cases application like this. That's it, the Angular 9 tutorial. Learn to build a CRUD Angular app quickly. You can find the article and full source code link in the description below. If you think this tutorial is useful, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.